Tip off.
Come on, won't you say it loud? Ayo, we gon' turn this out. Tom Clark's main event. Drop kick now and powerbomb. Ayo, bro, let's bring this on. Hey, hey, what is up? Oh, captain, my captain, shoulder stuff. Power slammer, suplex 2. Hot garbage is just for you. Big breaker, cut a cold red. Figure 4, hot times ahead. Since 2014, it's on. It's a 10 count, but stand up strong. Hey kid, no DQ, strong style. Chop, this is how it goes. Tom Clark's main event. Tom Clark's main event. Tom Clark's main event. Tom Clark's main event.
Hey, what's up, kids? Welcome back to the program. Tom Clark here with you on a Friday. It's been a minute, right? It's been a minute. So a couple different things happened in the time that we saw each other last. One, I got sick. Not deathly ill. Not so sick I couldn't function. Well, a little bit. But it wasn't the COVID that I know of. I've had the COVID twice. It's not fun. I didn't do a test this time, but all of it was basically from the throat up. And my throat never really ever got really kind of screwed up. So maybe it was from the mouth up. I don't have any idea what I'm talking about. Can you tell that I am a doctor? So there you go. But anyway, I don't know where I'm going with that. But it wasn't the COVID. I didn't do the test because nothing ever settled into my chest. I never had a fever. So I was good. No chills, nothing crazy happening. But it was enough to make me feel pretty yucky. Sorry for the language. But yeah, so anyway, I healed. I'm all better. And then the Thanksgiving happened. And there again, you know, busy with family. We had 2 Thanksgivings over here where I'm at, and ate way too much food. Can I be honest with you? But oh, wow. Was it fun? Yeah, it was. It was quite enjoyable. We had a good time. I hope you guys had a great Thanksgiving. If you celebrate it, if you're in this country, if one of our guests is not in this country. So she did not. She chose not to celebrate it. Weird. I don't know. People should always follow our lead because we do everything right in this country. Don't we, kids? I'm just going to let that hang. I'm going to let it hang like an ornament on a tree. Countdown's on, baby. It's January. It's December 6th. The clock is ticking, baby. It's going to be here before you know it. Hope you're ready. I hope we'll all be ready. Christmas is coming. Thanks, everybody, for tuning in. Before we get started, first of all, we're going to try to fill this room up. If you have not shared this link on your socials, please do so. That would mean loads to me. It's been shared on every page I have here on the Facebook. If you want to share it on your Twitter, if you want to share it on Blue Sky, by the way, big advocate for Blue Sky over here. I thoroughly enjoy being on that platform. I would ask that you go and share it there if you will. That'd be awesome. Wherever you are, share it on your page, share it on your feed, and mean loads to me. Before we get really deep in the weeds here, because we got a big show today, lots to talk about, we're going to bring our guests on. First off, you know this gentleman from this show. You also know him from the 6M podcast, and you know him from his website and his own podcast, which he's been threatening to do for some time now, and we're holding him to it. Ladies and gentlemen, Chris Patton is back with us. Great friend of the show. Chris, how are you?
I'm doing great. Go Dogs.
Nah, see there. Got to plug. Got to put the team over. It's all good. Also joining us today, we're going to see what college team she's going to plug. This is, of course, you know her from the Untitled Wrestling Podcast, Miss Faye Devine. Faye, how are you today? Thanks. Good to see you.
Yeah, I'm good, and I know nothing about college football, so forgive me for that.
It's okay. We won't hold it against you.
I support an NFL team, and that's about it. And then, yeah,
who do you support? As far as it goes. Do you really? What team do you pull for?
Oh, the Bengals.
Do you really?
Yeah.
How'd you end up doing that?
A lot of people in work really like it, so it's something that I'm starting to get into myself.
Interesting.
I was gonna say, is it the tiger stripe helmets that got you?
It is. It is.
They are pretty cool. Let's say that.
So
you can join the Georgia bandwagon and be a Dogs fan. Look at this cute little guy.
Oh, there you go, representing. Yeah. So, Faye, you didn't have that built-in anti-Americans call it football stuff. You were okay, like, you know what I mean?
No,
have you ever had that?
It just is what it is. Like, I'm not big on sports anyway, unless it's wrestling. But yeah, I do like watching the Super Bowl and stuff like that. That's always fun.
See, for me, it was different. I got into football, the English football, of course, thanks to doing Two Nations and a Ted Lasso podcast, which, by the way, kids, we've finished the entire show up until this season 4 thing happens. So we shall see what
Fingers
happens.
crossed.
Yeah, nothing official as of yet. Supposedly, they will go into production in January, but we will see.
So I kind of started watching that version of football because we have a team here and they won the MLS Cup, I guess, is their MLS championship or whatever. So I had never paid attention to it outside of like the World Cup beforehand, but it's a fun watch.
Nice.
My dad is a massive football fan, so we get it, and my son as well. So we get it a lot in our house.
I enjoy. I mean, I grew up watching. I was like, I don't know what I'm watching. I don't care about this. 0-0 for 3 hours. Oh my God, I'm gonna die. Right. But then I start watching because we're doing Ted, and I'm like, God, there's so much more to that game than I thought. And I've driven this point home incessantly on that podcast. But English football is the NBA. It's exactly like the NBA, 100%. You know what I mean? Like, guy brings the ball up court, he's double teaming, the ball out to the open man. The patterns are there. I see them every time I see the game now. So that's what helps me.
Yeah, I mean, growing up here in Atlanta, the only sport we had was the Braves, right?
True.
Yeah, so TBS, Atlanta Braves, go Bravos.
See, I'm not a baseball guy. How do we start doing this?
Every sport but wrestling.
Yeah. Welcome to sports Tom doesn't care about. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, I mean, Ray's in the chat, so how about them Cowboys?
Oh. What's up, Ray? Good to see you. Robbie's here with us too. Kids, it's been 2 weeks since we've been here. People still have a Thanksgiving hangover from a week before. So I don't know what kind of crowd we're going to get here today, but if anyone watching this in passing will share the link, that would be awesome. And again, we appreciate it. Hopefully we'll get some folks coming in here shortly. This is what happens when you take time off, fellow podcasters. Just don't ever forget that. Be consistent, right? Every time you cancel, guess what happens? Bam. So anyway, we will see what happens. Because I told you guys off mic before we started here today, because I haven't been here in a bit, I was not able to talk about Full Gear, and I really would like to talk about it. And we don't have to spend an hour on it, but I got thoughts, and I wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were as well. I will tell you, full transparency, I have still yet to watch the pre-show. While I'm sure there was probably some really good stuff on it, I have not watched it yet. So I don't know about the Big Boom stuff. I hear that got over like crazy. Is that true?
Yeah, it did.
Wow.
And he broke his leg before the match as well.
Before the match?
Before the match, yeah. And carried on.
How did he break his leg? What was he doing?
I don't know. But yeah, he was on crutches like afterwards. But apparently he sustained the injury before the match.
That is wild. I thought it happened during the match.
So
this is what I heard anyway.
He went full CM Punk and broke a bone before the match.
Was when Triple H tore his quad? Who was it that kept the match going even though they tore the quad? I think it was him.
Didn't that happen with Shane as well? And Snoop basically saved that segment a couple of years ago.
Yeah, Shane McMahon, he channeled his inner father and blew both quads out at the same time. And Snoop's doing people's elbow.
I mean,
that's a professional though. Snoop Dogg, he took that and he ran with it.
Yeah, he did.
Right.
When it came out that no one told Snoop, I still wondered, did the referee get up in his ear and say, "They're telling me for you to just have fun, do something"? Or I don't know. I've always wondered about that.
Well, he's talked to because he's Sasha Banks' uncle, right? And he's talked about his love of wrestling in the past. So he got the tap on the shoulder, hey, we need to go to a finish. Can you get a pin? It's the slowest people's elbow of all time, by the way. It
was a broken foot. Sorry, not a broken leg.
Ah, there you go.
Broken
I was
foot.
trying to look it up.
Okay, so it is the CM Punk. So he stage dove, broke his foot, and then he has to wear Danhausen's boots now. Isn't that how that goes?
It's bionic leg.
Yeah.
Bionic leg. Don't get me started on Danhausen. I just don't, free Danhausen. All right.
Yeah.
Put the guy on TV or let him go. Let him go make money somewhere. I mean, not that he's not making money sitting at home, but I'd like to see the guy work again. I don't know. I don't know what's going on.
I am on the same, especially when Ring of Honor is a thing. Like, why is Danhausen not doing more?
Yeah.
In general, like, you have a lot of TV time and internet time. Why is he not bigger than he actually is? Even as a manager, like, put him with somebody. Worst case scenario, but I want to talk about. You said free Danhausen. Also, the production on Dynamite is still awful. Like, as far as like a recorded product that gets put on TV, they zoom in for the crowd shot, like they do every wrestling show. And the first thing I see as it zooms in for this week's Dynamite was a free Phoenix sign. It's like,
oh,
you guys got to do a little better than that to like avoid that kind of thing. That would never happen in WWE. Someone would take the sign in WWE.
Someone would see the sign before they even got to the seat.
Yeah,
and be like, nope.
And the thing, it was there throughout the entire rest of the show as well, which is kind of like, come on, it's Bush League.
I've complained about the production on that company for a year straight. And here's the funny bit. It's not till this past year that I recall really being put off by production. So something has changed. I don't know what that something is. And a lot of people complain about, the crowd's dead. The crowd's dead. I forget who put this online. It was an excellent point. But whoever it was said, look, if it's the same crew that mics NBA games or whatever, if it's I want to call them Turner people, but you guys know what I mean now. Time Warner folks, I guess. Maybe it's on them. Maybe the crowd is not sufficiently mic'd because it sounds like nothing's happening. Because we've all been to shows where, you look online, this crowd's dead. And you're like, I was here. I can't hear myself talk. What do you mean it's dead? So I wonder if some of the production has to do with the folks actually working the show live.
Yeah, like the Collision tapings that I went to, the crowd was dead, but it's also a 30,000 seat building. So it was a hockey arena, and they only sold like 5,000 tickets. So it's going to sound dead because you're not filling the space.
Sure.
I'm hoping that them going to smaller venues is going to help with that.
Yeah, same.
Yeah, I mean, because the sound has nowhere to go. Like, if you have 2,000 people in a 10,000 seat arena, that's a big. It's just going to echo. There's no sound. It's just void. Yeah. So like you could be having a 5-star match or whatever, but you're not going to get like the reaction in the building is going to be way different than what you hear on TV or whatever, especially the way that they're mic'd up. And the cameras being further back and the way that they do everything live.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate you. Kids, again, if you're just coming in, if you will, hit the smash the like button and share this on your feed, if you will. Well, all that stuff aside, I got thoughts. I told you guys off mic I got thoughts, and I'll try not to. My name's on the show, but when I have guests on, I don't want to sit here and rant for 10 straight minutes and not give anybody a chance to speak. So I will try to monitor my feedback, but I got thoughts. Let's talk about some of this card. I'll run it down real quick, and then we can talk about whatever you guys want to hit on. Private Party defeating the Outrunners and the Acclaimed and the House of Black, Kings of the Black Throne, to retain the AEW World Tag Team Championships. MJF defeating Roddy Strong, Mercedes Moné defeating Chris Statlander, Jay White once again defeating Hangman Adam Page, Kyle Fletcher defeating Will Ospreay, Daniel Garcia defeating Jack Perry to become the new AEW TNT champion, Konosuke Takeshita defeating Ricochet to maintain and retain the AEW International title, Lashley defeating Swerve Strickland, and in your main event, Moxley defeating Orange Cassidy to retain the AEW World title. What jumped out at you guys? Faye, let's start with you. What on this show did you come away with going, man, this was awesome?
The tag match was fantastic.
Really?
Yeah. I thought like the story that the seed that it planted and the story it created was brilliant. especially like the way it started feeding in with the Acclaim thing. It like felt like it was really giving that wheels. Yeah, so I really, really enjoyed watching that. I was really surprised actually that it was that fun to watch.
Interesting. Chris, what jumps out at you from this show? What did you enjoy?
Oh wow, I like the Statlander Mercedes Monet match quite a bit.
Yeah,
and man, outside of that, I guess Jay White, Adam Page. But I was not huge on this show. It kind of felt like a WWE transition pay-per-view, this is the one in the middle of bigger pay-per-views kind of feeling.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, Faye, to your point, I wasn't exactly sold on the tag match, and that's where my ranting began. Shout out Phil Lindsay, by the way. That's where I started ranting Phil the other night. Private Party gets a new theme song. In my opinion, it's a banger. It's great. They're in the video. It's awesome. They did that whole gimmick where it's like they even had Amazing Red cut that video talking about, what happened. What happened? You guys were serious about this. Now it's shots, and your party. You don't care about this. What happened to getting gold? What happened to being successful? Right. So then they do all that, and they beat the Bucks. Should have beat them the first time, but whatever. At least they beat them. And then this pay-per-view, they come out to the old song. They're doing that stupid dance on the stage. And Shivani on the commentary has to say, well, from what I understand, they've been partying quite a bit since they won those belts. And I'm like, does anyone behind that curtain understand what continuity means? Why did we do all of that to just throw it in the dumpster and go back to what we were doing before? Like, I don't get that.
I liked their old theme song, but that's
what Phil said. That's what Phil said. Yeah. Yeah. I'm not a big fan of it, but either way, Chris, what do you think?
I like the old theme song. I have nothing against the theme song, but to your point, there was a direction change, right? Like the point was that you're moving the characters further along, and then just to show up at the pay-per-view and just do the same old stick. It's kind of like, okay.
Yeah.
walk it backwards. I mean, I love the new theme song, but like the entire point was to move the characters along, not dial them back to just dancing goofs.
And the thing about, well, it's maturity, they're young guys, like, yeah, but to that point, they stay stressed. Well, they didn't, you got to do this thing to get where you want to go. Well, then when they got there, now they're going to have a built-in reason why these guys eventually lose the belts. Well, they just partied too much. They didn't take it seriously. And I'm like, either do one or do the other. I don't know. Like, again, telling a story, you didn't, like Chris said, you didn't move us. You're going here, then you change direction. I don't understand that, but it's whatever. I ranted on that pretty hard the other night. I didn't dislike the match. Go ahead, Chris.
Yeah, I was going to say, like, I think the wrong team won in that situation because you're trying to rebuild the tag division. The Outrunners should have won. We've seen enough of these other guys.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think the Outrunners will eventually end up with those belts, but I don't know how they get them. I don't know what the path is to getting them now. But in that company, heel and face doesn't mean anything because they don't care about it. So I guess
it's a perfect way to buy FTR first, haven't they? Anyway,
FTR are big advocates of the Outrunners.
This would have been a perfect time to switch the belts because it's a 4-way match on a B list pay-per-view. Like that'd have been a good time to switch titles in general for a new team.
Well, if they'd held on and Private Party didn't get the belts, I would have agreed with that. But I felt like it was too soon. By the way, as I sit here criticizing the gimmick, they're called Private Party. So it's fine. Again, I'm not going to lose sleep over it. I'll try not to get too crazy.
Do you ever think of like what it would be like in like 2000s WCW if they were called Private Party? They'd be part of General Humongous and
oh wow, guys. We don't have to talk about it. Major Guns, right?
Major Guns.
We don't have to talk about that. Well, look, I thought. Let me start with this one. The next person that tells me Mercedes Monet doesn't work hard anymore, is obviously not watching her in the ring. And they're only WWE fans because I thought she worked her butt off in this match. I thought she and Statlander killed it here.
Yeah.
Faye, there were several points during this match where Mercedes, and I don't mean to say she was gassed, but she was breathing. And man, she was hustling from one move to the next. And I'm like, look at her go. Why are people complaining about anything she's doing? I thought she was tremendous.
So I thought I've been saying this like at every pay-per-view match she's having. I'm like, I know she can do better matches, and I just don't think she's fine. No, the way you get those people and like you gel with them, and it's like you're just always gonna have these fantastic matches. And to be honest, I really thought it was gonna be Shida that she was gonna have that like chemistry with, and she didn't.
No.
But it seems to have really come together with Chris, and I'm like, okay, I want you to never stop fighting. I want this to be like a trio of matches. This was fantastic. So good.
I totally agree. But then all of a sudden, she's cutting a promo on Anna Jay, and I'm like, are we going to move on already? Why don't we just stay here for a little while?
It's okay to just kind of like enjoy it and bask in it, isn't it?
Yes. Chris, you're shaking your head. You know what I mean.
Yeah, well, like I said, this is one of my favorite matches of the night. The problem is anything involving Mercedes Moné that's not a match. Like, it's overly produced. It's terrible. Like, I just watched Dynamite, and she said, hold on, I wrote this down because it was so terrible. Let me see.
Then Mercedes said?
Yes. There is always a price to pay when you mess with Moné. You're like, come on, man.
She's working
Everyone's got a price, Tom.
She's working the gimmick, brother. I don't know what you want.
Is she? Is she though? Yeah, or is the gimmick? Or is the gimmick working her? Because
come on.
it's much like I said. Anytime that they put a mic in her hand, it is death. And there were 2 segments on Dynamite where she had a vignette back the Monet thing that I just quoted in ring with Anna Jay, and I'm just like, man, this is bad. This is bad television. Great wrestler. She's a great wrestler.
Yeah.
She you know, if you had to list the 4 horsewomen in order, she'd be at the bottom of that list.
I was just gonna say the 4 horsewomen. I was gonna say I think Becky was by far the best talker of the bunch. Because I think Becky had more attitude, and I think she was believable when she spoke. And Mercedes feels like she's playing a character, but I kind of think that's the gimmick. I don't think she's supposed to be a real person. I think that's her goal, is to make you think she's this produced.
Which is fine in a world where you actually have heels that are heels and not this in between where you want people to chant CEO as you come to the ring and dance and be a likable person. I get what you're saying, but they're not doing that. Like, you're overthinking it, Tom. They're not doing that.
You're probably right.
You're thinking like someone that's watched a lot of wrestling and maybe would be able to book a better show.
Well, look, I know it's a bad habit. I need to cut that out. Faye, were you surprised this was the only, at least on the main card, the women had?
I was disappointed.
Yeah, Anna Jay and Deanna on the pre-show, like, man.
Anybody else just feel like they just completely dropped the ball with Jamie Hayter as well?
Yeah.
I like the new vignettes that they're doing. She had 2 segments on Dynamite, so maybe
I think
move that forward.
I think she looks great, and I am also, to be fair, I just enjoy whenever Jamie's on my screen because I adore her. But I just think that, like, for the past year while she's been gone, I've been going, oh, I'm really glad that like Mariah May is here or X is doing this because I can't wait for Jamie Hayter to get back. And I just don't feel like they've because that pop, I don't even know if that was shown on the pre-show or if it got lost at all in, but the pop she got was manic. And it just feels like that's kind of like it hasn't been ran with. But I know there was a lot going on with like things, but I don't know. I think because Mariah's obviously so massive.
I mean, I think they brought her back at the wrong time because you have the transition with Mariah winning the title, the same pay-per-view, right? Mariah wins the title. You have the Sasha Banks, who they're pushing to the moon because they're paying her $1 billion. And then Jamie Hayter just randomly shows up. So, like, maybe these vignettes and things they're doing, the push is starting now.
Slow
But it's
build.
like, yeah, like why would you not have just waited? I know it's Wembley and like Big Pop Jamie Hayter, like here you go. But I might have saved it if I didn't have anything for her to do right off the bat, because I feel like the AEW fan base in general is really behind Jamie Hayter and actually likes her. It's kind of like the Daniel Bryan WWE thing where it's like, no, this is our person, right?
This is our gal. I agree.
Yeah, and like, you know, outside of like Britt Baker, like that kind, as far as the female division goes, they haven't had anyone like that. So for them to just kind of delay it is weird. It's a weird choice.
I think it's just they wanted her at Wembley because it was Wembley. I think the pop was just, it was electric.
Wanted that. Yeah, they wanted that.
Well, then have her show up at every women's match and demolish all of them.
That would have been good. I would have loved that.
Strong. You know what I mean? Like, bring her back in strong, Tom.
Have it immediately murder Mariah after she wins it off Tony. Like,
well,
yeah, I'd be down for that. Chris,
to your point of how they should have brought her back, this is the same company that's letting Kenny Omega come back for Japan first. I'm like,
I don't want to talk about it, Tom.
And it's so funny, right? Because they didn't do that for Moxley when he came back.
Right.
Like,
I have the feeling that Kenny does not want to be in this company.
I kind of feel like
that's the vibes that I've been getting on.
I kind of agree.
And stuff.
Yeah. I don't think he sees a place for himself right now. For me, the only thing that I would see Kenny Omega doing at the minute is being a sacrificial lamb for Jon Moxley.
Yeah,
that is what I would say. That's
over now because they laid him out Wednesday. Game over. When you laid out the guy that's been wreaking havoc, it's one thing to lay out Wheeler Yuta. Everybody can I can lay out Wheeler Yuta. But when you lay out,
I would pay to see that, Tom.
When you lay out Jon Moxley, it's over. They put the boots to him. That he got laid out and took 3 finishers in a row. And I'm like, I'm watching my TV going, I cannot believe you're letting this happen. Because now in my mind, he's no longer the beast now. Why? Who cares? He got laid out. I mean, in my opinion, he doesn't get touched. No one can get near him unless it's a wrestling match, and no one puts their hands on him. Well, they've thrown that, like they do a lot of other things, into the dumpster with other good ideas. But
I would disagree with that.
Really? Why so?
Yeah. Just for and I understand where you're coming from in terms of like usually with the heels, no one gets near them or anything like that. Mm. But I just think the way that Moxley is, it's all about like the physical contact, and like he doesn't mind. For me, Mox doesn't mind like getting that because he'll come at you like 10 times more. He's for me, it's that like he doesn't feel untouchable, but it's whether he stays down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I agree with what you're saying, but the problem is that kind of person, that character, doesn't have a group to begin with, right? Like, why would you even if you're Terry Funk, you don't need a group. You're Terry Funk.
Yeah.
Right.
Oh, all cheating and stuff feels so weird for a group with those people in it, like in the matches and stuff. It's like, you guys are monsters anyway. You don't need like cheap wins.
Yeah, you're like Team USA playing Prague or something.
Like, you don't need it. Like, Claudio Castagnoli does not need to cheat, even if it is Brody King. I think. Yeah. I love Death Riders and I love Kenneth. I'm a massive Jon Moxley fan, as you can see by my Christmas sweater. But I just think they don't need the sly cuts. If they're there to put AEW on notice, then go out there and destroy everyone like with your fists. You don't need like little sly low blows and stuff like that.
I mean, this goes back a couple of years at this point, Tom, but I said the same thing about Blackpool Combat Club. Like, why are these cats, if they're all going for the same title, why are they in a group together? Like, these
because there was a
method.
Because there was a method. There was a reason. Their reason was
there?
Yes, absolutely. They stated it from day one. Yes, they stated it from day one with Regal. They said from day one, it wasn't just about Wheeler, but it was about showing Like, we're going to pass this on. We're going to show how this should be done. Like Wheeler's number one. Maybe there'll be others, that kind of thing.
And then they proceeded to not add anyone else to the
Exactly.
group
Yeah,
ever.
yeah.
Yeah, just
really
all
annoyed me.
people over the age of 37. Is
But-
the people that can join the black.
Right.
The people that have been in the wrestling business for 20 years.
Yeah.
Are the only
But-
people that can join.
But
Black
the Death
Bulls
Riders
Comeback.
thing there is no purpose. The purpose is, gotta get this belt off Danielson. Why? Well, because I got it.
The
Yep.
purpose is Tony didn't offer Eric Bischoff enough money to actually pull this off because he showed up on NXT this week.
Yeah,
That's-
well, Bischoff doing what he does best, putting himself over on TV, he's pretty good at that.
I mean, because
Um,
that's what they were going for, right? Like we talked about this, like what?
See, in my head,
2
I thought it was
months ago?
Barnett.
I'm not good with that. Me personally, I'm not good with that. I got questions in my head about Barnett, if I'm being real. I just
Jim Barnett.
no.
Josh.
Barnett.
Mhm.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah, I got
That's
questions
who I
about
thought
him.
it was. Like, who was going to be like the big guy?
Oh,
Like,
number one, I don't think he'd be over. I think he'd be over based on what city they're in, and maybe I'm being too harsh. I don't know if people would care, because Barnett in that world, in my opinion, has not done enough. You know, if you tell me William Regal's behind something, we'll go, oh wow, but Barnett, and then on top of
would.
that, I like him. I like the stuff that he does. Don't get me wrong, but in my head, he's not enough of a. I just don't know if there's a wow factor, the give a crap factor. In other words, I just don't know if it's there. And there's moments that he'll say and do things. I'm like, if you guys remember that spot, I think Chris, we've talked about this, that spot in New Japan that night where Jay White was working somebody and threw the guy into the barricade in front of the announce position. And because those barricades aren't restrained to the floor or held down by weights, the commentary table, Jim Ross fell out of his chair. Well, Barnett was next to him doing commentary. Well, Barnett stands up and starts like taking off his tie and stuff. And I'm thinking, what are you doing? Like, were you going to go into business? Did you think that Jay White intentionally tried to harm the Hall of Fame commentator by throwing,
No.
what are we doing? So like it was that big. But for me in my head, that was a moment of, I don't know, what are you trying to get yourself over? What's this? And even Jay later on the podcast said, I don't know what any of that was about. So
I'm not a big fan of Barnett's ideology of wrestling to begin with, because he wants to do like a lot of work shoot matches, like the blood sport
it's that
stuff,
catch
like
style, isn't it?
Yeah.
the fake UFC stuff. Like it's not, if I want to watch UFC, I want to watch UFC. I don't.
See, I enjoy Bloodsport a lot. It's like my favorite GCW event that I like watching.
see, I'm right in between both you guys. I can enjoy it like Faye said, but I also have moments of going, why don't we just do MMA? But I can very much appreciate both.
It's that weird spot of like what Russo tried to do, right? The 90s with WWF for me, of like,
Yeah.
Like I don't, I love a good octagon fight. I like UFC. It just becomes weird in wrestling. And like great wrestlers can really pull it off. The problem is you're going to watch 6 of those matches, and a lot of them are going to be very bad. That's more of the problem. So
It's like anything else. If pro wrestling is a variety show, if all 6 matches, each guy's 350 pounds, that's going to get old. If all 6 matches, everyone's doing lucha, that's going to get old. But if you have super heavyweight lucha, MMA style, the ladies, then it's a mixed bag. Then you have, in my opinion, more of an opportunity to see a little bit of everything. So,
well, I mean, and the gimmick is kind of killed because everyone does like their catch wrestling spot now in normal wrestling. You know what I mean? Like you see so much amateur wrestling in like starting of matches instead of just doing a lockup.
Bailey Matthews in NXT is a prime example
Mm.
of that. Is that his name now? He's still Charlie Dempsey to me.
oh, I don't know. I haven't
Oh.
watched NXT religiously in years. I just don't. It's not the same brand. I remember.
I just really love Charlie Dempsey, to be fair. Like, but obviously he's his dad's son, so there's that there. But like, he's incredible. Like, whenever he's on, I really enjoy watching him.
Yeah. So what I was getting at is like when every other company
Back to the point.
When every other company is already doing the niche spot in their normal matches and then going on and doing like elbow drops and jumping out of the ring and doing crazy stuff, your niche thing doesn't seem
It's
as
not
important.
niche.
Especially with like you have like John Morrison like doing these matches and then going and having an actual boxing match and then having a wrestling match. Like that's the problem, is like if you're going to do that kind of company and that kind of show, then like you can't let any of your wrestlers go anywhere else, really, because it's supposed to look like a shoot. You know what I mean? Like it's supposed to look like a real fight. So you gotta, like if you're UFC and you wanted to do fake fights, you could, because it would only, these are our guys, they're all under contract, they only work for us. You could do that. But like with wrestling, if you're gonna go work at an independent show and take a loss, in a scripted match versus a Barnett blood sport match, that's where it gets muddy. It's like, well, why do you even do it to begin with, right?
I think the Bloodsport as a concept is a fine match, but Bloodsport as a promotion, I agree, it's maybe a bit much. And I've paid for Bloodsport events and enjoyed them, but there are moments that I've watched shows and I've been like, well, that one wasn't as good as the last one, that kind of thing.
Yeah. And now you've got the Bloodsport Bushido, which is far more entertaining than the one that's on GCW now.
Oh, interesting.
GCW is such an interesting company at this
point,
because they're on the cusp of like being able to do not only extreme wrestling, because they're kind of like on the cusp of like, oh, we need to start. So you've been seeing that a little bit. They're interesting. There's something to watch out for them. Like they've stuck around long enough. They got enough big time wrestlers and people backing them that, like, if they could just land a TV spot, they might be able to take over the number 3, right? Like TNA. They could do something like that. I could see that happening.
I could too. I think there's enough. I think they're active outside of the US, Faye, aren't they? Quite a bit, which I think helps their cause. Yeah.
This year.
Yeah.
Instead of Liverpool, which I'm real mad about, because it's usually the highlight. I usually take the full weekend off.
Oh, okay.
And go and watch it. But no, they're in London this year. And I'm already down to Forbidden Door like that time. So now.
Yeah, GCW shows are fun, Tom. I know it's not your cup of tea necessarily, all of it, but when I saw them, AR Fox came out to AT Aliens, and the entire loft went nuts here in Atlanta. So they do a lot of fan service. Like all of the wrestlers are available to go talk to. It's a good time.
That's cool.
They're very lovely. They are so nice.
That's cool. I'm not a deathmatch guy. It's not for me. I got a lot of opinions on it that I'll reserve for another day. Let me ask you guys.
You like it within reason, though. Like if you build the story up long enough, that there is a reason for a death match.
Within reason, but
like a bunkhouse brawl, for instance.
Yeah, because I saw. I saw. Who's the guy? Necro Butcher. At some indie show, and it's the footage sucked because it was some dude in the crowd with his phone out, and this guy took all kinds of crazy cuts, and he's bleeding like a sieve, and it's he's getting stuff just shoved into every part of his body, and he's bleeding out. And I'm like, cool. How much money did you get tonight? What'd you get? Hey, look, for me at the end of the day, it is about the payout. If you tell me you got $20, then you're an effing clown. I don't care if you're him. I don't care if you're in the promotion around the corner from this office. I don't care if you're in the major promotions. If you didn't get paid that night, you're an idiot because you allowed that to happen.
Well, I mean, this is the problem with like putting Butcher in your name. People are gonna assume you're gonna do a blade job, like anything.
But I'll tell you this: I'll bet you Abdul the Butcher got paid much better than this guy ever has.
Oh man, Abby's such a good dude.
But I'm just saying what I see people willing to do to themselves, and some of these idiots on these posts be like, "Oh, he did it for the business." I'm like, "How much money do you get paid? What are we talking about?" Like, for me, it is about the money. I'm sorry, but if you're in the business, it should be about your payday. Like, I've been around.
A lot of the deathmatch wrestlers, though, they are very much like, I'm in it because I love this, what I do. Like, that's what you hear a lot of deathmatch wrestlers say.
Yeah, I get it. I get it, but I don't get it because again, like if I'm getting 20 stitches tonight, here's your $20, Tom. Thanks for coming up. Really?
I mean, like,
That's...
unless you're really good at doing it yourself, this becomes like a proposition where you're always in the red because you got to go to the ER and get stitched up and like lose money every time you do a like. Also, wrestling, you're not supposed to. You're not supposed to get hurt in a wrestling match. So the whole point is to protect the person you're working with.
A little bit louder for everyone in the back of the place, please, because
the entire art of wrestling and why Jeff Jarrett's punch looks so good is because you're not supposed to just haul off and nail someone or cut their forehead open.
Yeah,
like when you use blood, like it's just. You can do it whenever you want. It doesn't mean anything. Like it doesn't mean anything. Like when Dusty would do a blade job in a 60-minute match, it meant something because there was a 6-week buildup to a title match with Dusty where he's getting beat up by 3 heels to do the blade job. You know what I mean? Like even Hogan knew this, right? Like Hogan in the cage against King Kong Bundy doing this is a big deal. Hogan got color, right? Like, oh, this man might die. That's what you're supposed to feel. And when you just start, and I love ECW because I grew up during that time period. But like as an adult, as an old man now, I'm just like, it's kind of garbage. Especially because AEW does a lot of it. Like, and the thing is they do the same spots. So like once you do the table spot, you've took it away from everybody else. Like what you were saying, I don't know if you said it at the beginning or before we jumped on. But like once you do the spot, that should be that the only time you do it.
Yeah.
So instead, if you're going to do one table spot, if the main event is that table spot, sorry, everybody else, figure something else out, right? Yeah. Because like if you see the same thing 3 times, the effectiveness it doesn't matter.
Especially with table spots as well.
Yeah.
Like there's nothing worse than those get the table chants. Like at every match, and I'm just like, no, stop.
By the way,
don't get the table.
But don't get
the table. Stop it.
Yeah. By the way, Full Gear. Was there a table? Because I remember several matches in a row, and the thought occurred to me: holy cow, I haven't seen a table. Am I wrong?
I think there was, but
if there was, it was late in the show. Because on Dynamite you'll see 3 tables. I'm like, what are we doing? But yeah. Well, Chris, I think you we could just stop the show now because you said what we needed to say. Pro wrestling is not designed to hurt, and it should not be to hurt people. It is supposed to be when you see the Abdullah or whoever, when you see and you're like, oh my God, he's killing him, and then you hear the guys after the fact, oh, I never felt a thing because he's awesome because he's so good.
Table spots.
Yeah, I mean, pro wrestling in general is something that you shouldn't be embarrassed to show someone else. Like, hey, here's this match, and if, like, for instance, old school ECW or like some game changing wrestling or these death match things, you're like, I would show this to my grandma. You know what I mean?
I show it to everyone. I used to go to like a lot of deathmatch shows because we have an extreme promotion in Liverpool. And I used to go in the office on Monday and I'd be like, look at this, everyone. It'll be like, oh my God.
A lot of that's personal taste, and that is all subjective. No, it is. It's all subjective. I mean, I think
it very much is. It's like the Terrifier series, right? Like a horror flicks. Like some people like very gory type horror.
It's just gore for gore's sake, though. And it's funny because I love death matches, but I wouldn't dream of watching those.
Yeah, oh wow, really?
They just bore me.
So my thing is like a death match needs to be like when Terry Funk would do a death match, it meant something. The problem with these death matches is just people hitting stuff with stuff for no reason. There's no psychology in between the light tubes.
And I'm not going to disagree with that, but I'll also give you the flip side of that argument. How many cage matches have been in the big company and no one gets color? And I'm like, in the old days, in the NWA and Crockett, when your head hit that cage, the blade came out. And that's why your head didn't hit the cage for a few minutes, because everybody in the match knew, including the guy that rang the bell and the dudes that put the ring up, when your head hits the cage, that blade comes out. In WWE, they hit all the time because they got no rule. They got a rule about it, you know?
Well, not now, but yeah, that was getting their sponsorships back up after the Attitude Era and the Ruthless Aggression Era and Chris Benoit, etc. Like, we can't do this because we need to make money as a publicly traded company, because WWE is a different wrestling company.
Yep, for sure.
But yeah, that's why Tom, that becomes like a financial conversation more than a booking conversation.
No, you're right, but yeah, that's how it gets all muddied. It gets muddied. That company has muddied up a lot of stuff over the years, let's be honest.
They've done a great job of fixing it lately. WWE
That's what I hear.
I know you don't like talking about it, but
No, it's fine. It's fine. Yeah.
Big E just came back. Big feud happening in the WWE right now between the New Day.
Well, I want to get to the New Day. Let me do a couple more things here, because I do want to talk about the New Day. So I thought Jay White, I love the fact that Jay still has Adam Page's number. I don't know why.
White whale.
Yeah. I love it so much.
It's so good, isn't it?
Yeah. It reminds me of remember when Randy Orton could not pin Mark Henry? He could not. I mean, seriously, when Mark Henry did that House of Pain stuff, or was it Hall of Pain? What was it?
The Hall of Pain. Yeah.
Remember, he couldn't touch him. He couldn't pin. Every time Henry worked him, he won. And I'm like, that's awesome. I love the idea of I can't beat that guy.
Never win him. To never beat him.
Yeah.
Like keep him as his Achilles heel, whatever.
Yeah.
Jay White is a slippery person. He is
I love that.
A wet rat of a man. And he is someone that Adam Page can't catch.
Yeah.
I love Jay White, but like, what is he as a character now? Is he babyface? He's babyface, right?
I thought I told you. Don't worry about heel and face in that company. Are you not listening to me? I'm your friend. Take my word for it.
He changed his gear up. He's got like the Japanese robe thing he's coming out with now.
He wore out with the denim jacket on Dynamite, though. He's changed again.
Hangman's got a creepy mustache, so you know that guy's a heel.
Hangman Adam Page did nothing wrong, okay?
But then he laid out on Moxley. And I'm like, all right, man.
Yeah, who is also
okay
a
for
heel?
all of them to have a massive feud, though. Like, Hangman is a force of destruction. He doesn't care who's in the path of it. He's got one thing on his mind, and it's the gold. But I love that all of these have this this intertwining thing, because Mox and Hangman also have this we're gonna be fighting forever kind of thing too. Because a lot of people say, oh, it's the swerve Hangman thing that made Hangman evil. It's like, no. Are we all forgetting about the feud that he had with Mox before that? That was Hangman's real breaking point, if we're looking at it really. But they all have this swirl and orbit around each other, because also Mox has never beat Jay White in singles competition either. So Jay's got Mox's number.
I just love that Jay's involved and they're not putting him.
Oh, it's great, isn't it? I love it.
Yeah, I love him.
I don't know how anyone expects me to be a normal person whenever the three of them are in the ring, but there we go.
Well,
so Juice is hurt, right?
Yeah, broke his fibula. Sucks, man, because he just got help.
They're not there. Why aren't the guns there?
I think one of them is hurt too. I think.
Oh no.
Yeah, but I can't remember which one. Look, I'm okay with your explanation of how you perceive Hangman. Here is my. No, it's fine. Here's my immediate rebuttal. It's fine, but they give that to several people because they don't believe in heel and face. And look, I get the other company's been here since the 60s, so they got a little bit more advantage, and everybody on the planet knows who they are, and nobody knows who AEW is yet, except outside of pro wrestling circles. But when you deviate from the formula that has worked since the 1800s, for crying out loud, then you are deviating with something, and you're doing it at your own risk. And I firmly believe that a lot of the problems they're experiencing with people not coming to the shows and viewership is dropping. It's not just about stuff behind the curtain. It's about convoluted storytelling. No one knows who they're pulling for. One day he's this, the next day he's that. I'm not saying it's all of it, but I think it's part of the problem.
That's why we need BTE back.
It's black hat, white hat, Tom.
It's black. It doesn't have to be Ricky Steamboat slapping high fives. It doesn't have to be the heel going, threatening to hit a kid. I'm not saying it has to be from the 50s. But when you tell me that I have a locker room of 30 grown men, 25 of them have shades of gray, I'm out. I have a hard time with that. And guess who has a hard time with it? Your crowd has a hard time with that. If I'm wrong,
your casual viewer is even worse, right? Like
because they don't know what's happening. Yeah, they don't know what's happening.
Does AEW even get casual viewers now?
That's fair point.
I feel like
they used to get like 1.2 million lead-in from Big Bang Theory that they scared off.
That's also a fair. See, I can't argue with either one of you because you're excellent points.
But like for me, it's never felt like a casual fan show ever. Like the time that I've been watching it, like what got me into AEW, it was my friend's birthday. It was Double or Nothing, and she was like, "Right, we're watching a pay-per-view." I was like, "Oh, great. What is it?" She's like, AEW. Because I'm a weirdo, I went and watched like 3 months of wrestling in like 2 days. But if I hadn't have done that, I wouldn't have known like what was going on at all.
Mm-hmm.
Like, yeah, it doesn't feel like it's ever been for the casual fan for me. And then you do get like that nice, like, oh, look, here's Bryan Danielson. Here's big names and nostalgia, but you don't get that anymore. And now it's like, and I'm a massive AEW fan, but it's never felt like a casual fans thing for me. I don't think.
I hate the idea that you started a wrestling company as an art house project. Like you're like, I'm going to make an independent film as a wrestling company.
Yeah.
Just to do it.
I'm going to make something that's so niche. You're going to need to know so much about all these previous things before we've even started our first thing. It's like, you want to know about Hangman? You need to watch 8 years of New Japan and Ring of Honor, and then we'll get into it.
And that's the problem, because if you were on a network, on a paid channel, a paid subscription network called AEW, where the only people watching are people who paid for it, do what you want. But you were on national television where anybody flipping through with the remote could find you, if they still have cable TV, or going through their Hulu could find you. I wonder what this is. To your point, when they tune in and they see things they don't know about, it's not speaking to them. Meanwhile, WWE has, I know it sucks, here's a celebrity on there. They've got ad sponsors. They're talking about pro sports on there. They've got more going on than just here's a bunkhouse match. I don't know. To me, it's two different audiences. One's playing to everybody. One's playing to this big.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the problem, right? Like,
if
you're AEW and you only want the niche audience, you want New Japan diehard fans or whatever, then give us that product. Don't do it halfway. Because what they're doing is a halfway thing where, like, we want WWE. That's why we brought in Edge. That's why we bring in people like Bryan Danielson, etc. Like they're doing it, but not really doing it. And, like, the biggest thing AEW is missing right now is Kenny Omega, who, like I've said multiple times on your shows, Prince. He is the reason the company exists. Right. So, like, until they get Kenny Omega back full time, he has that match with Okada, like, they're gonna be on this trajectory of just flat.
There's this thing over in the UK though where AEW is on free TV and the pay-per-views are on free TV.
Yep.
So it automatically gets that audience. And especially people of my age are like, oh, Sting was in that, the Hardy Boys were in that, like,
Great point.
Watch it, and it's like, oh, these guys can like bleed. These guys can do hardcore matches. So it appeals to a very specific type of fan, my age, I think, AEW over here, and you don't have to pay for it, which is why it has such a big viewer. It's very popular over here.
Yeah.
I'd say.
Yeah, I see that. Yeah. And listen, real quick about my earlier point about the Omega thing. You're both right. I'm right as well. Omega may not want to come back to that company right now, but that is where the guy who is the man running the show gets him one-on-one and says, "You're my guy. You're my star. I know you've got
guy.
Yeah, I know you've got loyalty to Japan, but I don't want you appearing for them first. I don't even want you cutting a promo. I don't want your face to be seen till you're back on my show, and you're the first person to lay out John Moxley. That's what I want. That's what should happen.
I'd like them to revisit that feud. That'd be good.
It's not going to happen now, and if it does, who cares? Because I'll tell you this, the impact of that moment is gone now. Because, again, you had 3 dudes lay out your powerhouse heel. Did you see my fingers? Because that's right. You had 3 guys lay out your powerhouse heel. Now it doesn't matter if Kenny does it. Who cares?
They did the same with in New Japan as well, though, didn't they? They had Gabe Kidd lay him out backstage, and it's like, my guy, Gabe Kidd is like this little lad from England, and it's like, oh,
I love Gabe Kidd. I love him because he is like MJF. He is completely committed to that gimmick. I saw him on like a local talk show or something or whatever it was, wherever in the States or something. Did the gimmick the entire time. He never let up, and I'm like, oh, I love this kid. But yeah, never should have laid out Kenny Omega. That was a wrong move.
Kenny should have just kicked him into touch.
Yeah. I don't get it. Again, Kenny is your guy. Kenny is your main guy.
And New Japan don't want to push him as that either. So like, It's like, what have you gone to Japan for?
No, there was no point in it. And
it's like the Bucks going over
yeah.
to Wrestle Dynasty or Wrestle Kingdom, whatever. Are they going all the way over to Japan to do the job? Like, what's the point?
Yeah, I'm kidding.
I talked about this a couple episodes ago, Tom, of New Japan in general just not being that important right now. AEW stole all of their mainline talent. Like, they're not doing that well as a company in general. What is the point of sending your stars there? What does that international market look like? Like, what are you garnering from sending a Kenny Omega coming off injury to New Japan? Like, what are you getting out of that? Like, what is the return? Because like, as a old school days of promoters, like, I'm going to send my top star to you, right? Like, what is AEW?
Bring all of Bullet Club over here. Bring all of Bullet Club over to AEW and have them feud with Jay White. I heard somebody say to me today, oh, it's David Finlay and I think they said Brody King for Wrestle Dynasty. And I was like, what? What? No, that's not what's meant to happen. David Finlay has been saying since like the beginning of the year, if people at New Japan lift the ban, there's a certain person that I want to have a match with, because we never got that thing. Like, we never got David Finlay and Jay White. Like, for me, David Finlay is just not the guy at all. Everybody around him in Bullet Club is a level above him, and he's just like a poor man's Jay White, really.
That is the best way I've ever heard a description of David Finlay. Is he is a poor man's Jay White.
He is, like,
he really is. He is Kmart values.
Yeah, it's like, oh, is Pepsi okay? That's what it's like.
Oh, y'all are tough, man. Like, hey, I like him.
No, it's the way they booked it. It's not his in-ring style or anything else, but like literally the way that they pushed him and put him in that position, he is poor man Jay White. Like,
I like him.
And everybody else in Bullet Club is better than him. Like, his War Dogs he brought in, that whole thing where they had like Coughlin and everyone, it was like, these guys are great, and here's Finlay.
Yeah, Driller Maloney too. I'm just saying.
Driller's great. I adore Driller. He's the best.
Brownest guy you've ever seen. I promise you that. That dude is hitting the tan in bed hardcore. Oh, he's awesome. He's awesome.
Yeah. He was at Liverpool last week against Leon Slater.
Oh. So
Speaking of tanning bed, Tom, Kyle Fletcher.
Adam Cole. No.
Oh man, he didn't do that. No, I get you. Yeah,
my guy Kyle Fletcher out here looking like mini Randy Orton. What is going on?
Hey, look, he and Ospreay had a heck of a match, and
great match.
If anybody doesn't know how good Fletcher is, Ospreay did not carry that kid. I mean, Fletcher did his part, and I thought it was a tremendous freaking match. And I said this to Phil the other night. In a normal world, in a regular professional wrestling promotion, which this company is not, it's my hill to die on. I don't care. All right. In a normal world, a regular pro wrestling company, a top guy can put over his best friend and help him, and it's fine. In this company, him taking a loss to Fletcher, in the long run, will it be okay? Maybe. We'll see. The match was tremendous, but how many losses in a row was that for Ospreay? You see what I mean? Like, I don't know. Like, he was white hot. Do we still consider Ospreay to be white hot right now?
No, and this goes back to the summer where I said he should have won the title. Like, he shouldn't have lost there. Like, I love Swerve, but he shouldn't have lost there because they lost all the momentum of his character. Like, they lost, like, the day he lost to Swerve, there's been this slow decline of Will Ospreay.
I completely agree, Fernando. Like 100%. But with that, I'm always gonna advocate for Swerve to win because I love Swerve.
I love him.
I love Swerve too, but sometimes the choice is the choice. Like, we'd be in a lot different situation if Ospreay wins the title, has 2 titles, right, headed out of that pay-per-view. Like a way different situation with MJF coming back off injury. Like, you have a lot, like I said then when we talked about it, I was like, that's the actual smart decision. That's not what they're going to do, but that's the smart decision. And now
they should have had Jay win against MJF, really. Going back even further. Jay White should have beat MJF.
Are you talking about when MJF was like broken?
Yeah.
Yeah, they just killed Jay White in that entire match. Like, what was the point of Jay White even having that match with him?
Jay White should have won, and I was convinced he was going to win.
Which would have been a great heel thing, but once again, this company doesn't make any sense. So, yes, you're right. He should have won. He should not only have won, he should have ripped apart MJF's leg because MJF was already hurt going in the match.
Yeah, and it's again, if I'm not comparing, for an example, when that other company fails, most of the time we're all doing this and going, "What was that?" Right? And it's reflected. It was remember how long was it? They couldn't pull a rating to save their lives. It was reflected in the ratings. It was reflected in live attendance, reflected in everything in WWE. But many times we'd watch the program and go, "What was that?" I'm telling you, that is happening in AEW, where even the diehard fans are going, "Wait a minute, why did we do that?" I think it's making a freaking impact overall. I really believe that.
Yeah, there's 7 years of me yelling about WWE as well. I'm not out here trying to bury AEW. Check out Wrestling Geeks Alliance. It's out there.
No, and I don't think anybody criticized it. Well, we're not. I don't believe. I'm not going to stop watching AEW. I enjoy watching it, but I know what I'm seeing. I know where, and I believe it all begins and ends with the guy that runs the show. And again, you didn't want Kenny showing up for that is your call. That is not Kenny's call. Real quick, the thing about Mox, and you're right, Faye, about Mox wants to do the give and take thing. Great. If I'm Khan, I'm like, no, you're not doing that. I'm protecting you. You're my top heel. You're not getting laid out by anybody till I say so. And I'm sorry, I love Mox, but if you don't like that, that's the boss, though. You're either calling the shots or you're not. Because if you're letting the guys call their shots, that is a huge problem. That's how I see it. So
Yeah.
I got dead quiet. No one agrees with me at all. Oh man, am I on my
Oh,
own?
yeah.
No,
Never.
Tom, I agree with you 100%. But Faye's a big Mox fan, so I'm gonna.
I love Mox. Hey, look, I think
Solid
listen. I think if you got the payroll and you have the option of whether or not to have him, you freaking have him. I think he's good for the locker room because from what I've always understood, everybody loves the guy because he's awesome.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, like, Mox, I appreciate what you're telling me, brother, but you're not going to get laid out tonight. We can't. That's not the plan. We need you to be a freaking monster until it's time for you to not be.
Where's his crew? Where's his gang when he's getting beat down by 3?
Well, they were all getting beat down by everyone, but what I don't get is, wasn't he supposed to have like murdered Orange? And why is Orange there? Wasn't Orange like massively laid out?
Also,
for
like
him to just be there like straight away. No,
AEW's television production is so terrible that I did not realize it was a run-in by Orange. I thought literally there was a camera guy that got in the shot and they just kept it there. Like normally I would know that a million miles away, but like it's AEW, so
everybody read that comment. The Hurt Syndicate is more over than the Death Riders.
They are 100%.
They're not my favorites, but that's because, well, they're fighting Swerve, and I like Swerve.
Sheldon Benjamin's out here just dumping people on their heads, by the way.
Yeah.
He's pulling everything in the ring.
Yeah.
And Kyle Fletcher did not get like that he was supposed to be T-bone suplexed on Dynamite. And Benjamin just yeeted him into position. It's like 5 minutes into the match. Benjamin goes to hook the T-bone, and Fletcher's like, "What are we doing?" He's like, "You're going up, brother."
Tuck your chin, brother. Tuck your chin. By the way, real quick about Lashley. Lashley is a monster. And remember, I just used the word monster with Mox. This is how you book a monster. Swerve is your former world champion. I do not think Lashley embarrassed him. I do not think he made him look less than. I think it was a matter of Lashley is incredibly strong, incredibly powerful, incredibly skilled, and your champ has been wrestling full-time for a while now, or ex-champ, and he's maybe not 100% all the time. That's what I took from that.
Yeah, and he's got that, like, he's in his head, isn't he? It's that psychological thing, like, and they always say, don't they, like, if you've lost in your head already, or if you're not in your full headspace, then you've lost.
I had to respond to Ray. He was like,
"Oh, I was wondering,
are the Hart Syndicate face?" Yes, yes, they are in this company. Yes, why not?
I don't think it matters. I got a lot of love for Ray Dean, but Ray keeps asking the question of who's heel and face in AEW. I don't think it matters. I swear. You know why? Because it doesn't matter to them. When
you know Cody what Hangman said in an interview, like either yesterday or today.
Oh, let's hear it.
He was like, "No one's a real fan of me unless they see Swerve and they start fighting him in a parking lot." And I'm like, "What are you telling people to do?" Like,
oh my God. Hey, in this country, that stuff will work. It'll happen.
Man, they killed that storyline so hard. If you would have screwed Swerve for the title, like, because he said Swerve will never win a title as long as I'm alive. If he would have screwed Swerve before Swerve won the title, if he would have screwed him over, you would have had endless feud forever. They had such
this is what I don't get. They're in the same building. How, like, if they have this blood feud, how are they not always trying to murder each other? Like, always getting involved in each other's matches?
Yeah, you're not wrong, but you can't. The stupid pro wrestling answer is you can't because of reasons. It's the same reason why Hunter and Sean could be in the same locker room, but not always fighting every week on TV, because this week we don't need them to do that. I know it's dumb. So who was it trying to make the point? It was somebody bigger than us trying to make the point of, well, why didn't Mox and Death Riders jump in on that boom match with that guy and his kid? Well, they're against stuff like this. They should. And I'm like, hey, doofus, the booker didn't want him to do it. I don't know what we're talking about. Like, it's not necessarily an invalid point, but at the same time, if
I believe that Hangman wouldn't always try to be murder swerve just purely because at the minute he does not have much going on in his head. There's just no thoughts behind those eyes. Only just like point me in a direction, someone
like
I need to
Pac.
fight.
Like Pac. Pac's just always walking around wet with those crazy
just all
eyes.
wet.
All
In
the
my
time.
head,
And
he's
no
in
shirt
gear
on.
all the time.
He's in gear all the time. That's important.
He gets on the plane to Newcastle. He's just sitting there in economy on the plane. Just
in his chair.
Imagine if you had to sit next to him.
He's just wet all the time, just sitting there, 1,000-yard stare.
Trying to get away from him.
You know what's like? No one really talks about it anymore, but like his little feud that he had with Enzo in WWE, it's pretty good. Go back and rewatch that. Him and Enzo taking shots at each other, and they had some good matches. Because
remember back before
Pac is really good at wrestling. Turns out,
yeah. Back before Enzo became Enzo, remember how much fun that was? Him and Cass and the crowd chanting their lines word by word, and them. God, they were so over. And they would be right if Enzo showed up in AEW. That'd be the best thing for Big Bill's career. I completely disagree with that. You could not be more wrong. I don't think Bill needs him at all.
Bill's fantastic at the minute.
Yeah, I get him away from Jericho.
I said this. I was like, Big Bill was great in TNA. He's a big dude. If you want to do it, like put him and Brody together as a tag team or something. Like, yeah. You know, I was watching.
Get away from Jericho. Get everyone away from Jericho. Get Jericho away from AEW right now.
Get Jericho away from Jericho. Yes, please.
Dude, go tour with Creed or something.
Oh,
need you to.
Don't wish that on Creed.
Are we to the point that we're going to defend Creed because Jericho's that bad? Oh my God.
No, I mean Mark Tremonti is a great guitar player, so.
Because he go on like a year-long tour. That'd be great.
If you listen to them long enough, it sounds like Trey Parker doing a voice on South Park. If you listen to them long enough,
why have you done that?
So
I'm telling you.
So Tom, if you listen to just the instrumental of that and Mark Tremonti's guitar part, it's beautiful.
Oh, I've always believed they're a solid band. I've just never cared for them at all. It's,
You ever see that weird video of this is going outside of the wrestling world, but Scott Stapp and Kid Rock tour bus video that happened
God, no.
back in when I was in high school?
Kid Rock is he's not exactly must see TV. He never has been. Never has.
For those that have not seen that, go look it up. But maybe don't do it at work.
Oh God.
Fernando's making some good points here. This one I vehemently disagree with. The Death Rider has been laying people out for a while. They were due for a whooping. I completely disagree with that because you've cut their legs out from underneath of them. In my opinion, it'll never. You've got one chance to lay the big guy down. You got one chance. That's all you got. When you lay him down, you better make it count. Because once you lay him down, everybody can lay him down. When you beat Goldberg, you had one shot to get it right. You got it wrong. Nash should never have beat Goldberg. I don't know who it should have been or if it had to be anybody, but you blew it. And the ratings in that company reflected it when he lost. I'm telling you, you got one shot. Jade, same thing, right? You got one chance. If you blow it, it's over.
It's like when the Undertaker broke the streak. Stop counting.
Yeah.
I don't mind the streak getting broken because it's Brock Lesnar. Right? And he went on.
I was so unhappy. And I wasn't even watching wrestling at that time. And that pissed me off.
He went on to carry that company for 2 years, though, because they had no original ideas other than Brock Lesnar as a pay-per-view. Like, say what you want to about Brock Lesnar. But as a main eventer, he was a main eventer, like for them, like pay-wise and stuff. And you're talking about the end of Vince McMahon era, like really terrible. Like, I don't have a problem with him beating. Like, I think that was called in the ring because I think Brock knocked him out on accident. And that's how that got called.
Supposedly, they wanted Brock to go over. Taker did as well, and Brock said no in the beginning. He didn't want to be the guy that beat him. but they had to convince him to do it. But I don't know if that's true. That's what I've always heard.
Yeah, I just know watching the match, you can see Taker is clearly not there for the last 10 minutes of that match. So whatever, it doesn't matter really.
I like I like debate. He says when Sting laid out the NWO all the time, it didn't affect him at all. Completely disagree. Here's why. Sting didn't touch them for a long time. He would come down from the rafters, he'd point the bat, nothing happened. If Chris, you may remember the first time he actually threw hands. The first time he actually threw hands, he walked from the back and got in the ring, took the bat and dropped it outside the ring, and they fed to him one by one. That was the first night he ever touched any of them. And that was more for him than it was for the NWO, because it was their way of signaling, this is the guy that's going to tear this down. This is the guy that's going to beat Hogan. So everything after that, it wasn't about let's destroy NWO. It was about let's build up Sting. And it worked. It worked. I'm not trying to split hairs, Fernando. I'm just telling you my point of view here.
Yeah, I mean, they built that for a year. That was a whole year from 96, 97. Star Brawl, whatever.
Starcade.
Starcade, there you go.
Star Brawl. I should take you off my screen right now. What's wrong with you?
Star Brawl is better than Starcade.
I have no idea what you're talking about. Who's Star Brawl?
Great Balls of Fire, the pay-per-view.
Great Balls of Fire. God.
No, you're right. Sting didn't have to lay a hand on them until, I guess it was like 2 months to that pay-per-view. He started dropping in the ring and hitting people with bats.
Yeah.
To the point where they made a fake Sting, which was brilliant, by the way. It was like, no, he's clearly on our side, which is great when you think about the origin of NWO. There was some good storytelling there. It's too bad that Hulk Hogan and Nick Patrick really had to go and fuck Sting.
Oh, language.
Kill the story. I'm sorry, Tom. Can you think of a different word than what happened to Sting in that?
You just made the list.
Fine, I'll send you $1 on Cash App. But we're talking about Sting here. 97 Sting. This is why WCW doesn't exist anymore.
Several reasons.
Your payoff was a fast count that wasn't a fast count.
Wasn't a fast count.
Bret Hart run in, and then Sting just joining the Wolfpack shortly thereafter. That sums up why that company doesn't exist.
I can't disagree. Hey, look, it's on me for keeping us on this AEW thing the entire show. But I had stuff I wanted to talk about. It turns out we just kept going with it. Instead of jumping to anything else, because we've already been on for a long time, we're gonna let Faye get some sleep here eventually. Let's talk about this New Day thing, and we'll wrap up with that. The New Day thing. Here's what I'll tell you. I didn't hate it. I'm glad it didn't end with them laying him out, which maybe tells me they can't lay him out because he's probably not actually cleared yet. And on top of that, every tag team ends with that. So at least it's different. However, I went to the comments on many posts on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter, and a lot of people were like, this doesn't make any sense to me. So, Faye, let's start with you. What did you think about that angle?
I knew it was coming, and I feel like I've been waiting for it to happen, but I also didn't want it to happen in the way of it just hurt my heart. I felt like I was like this. I'm not watching, but I totally was, and it just did me a big sad. Yeah.
But Chris, did it work for you? Does it make sense? I mean,
it works for me because I've wanted Xavier Woods to be a heel for so long. He seems like he would be the greatest animated villain of all time. So I've been waiting.
Like him and the Cleaner.
Yeah. Oh man, what a tag team that would be! Xavier Woods,
it'd be so good.
Just dressed as Street Fighter characters every week. Be amazing.
That's the dream.
That's the dream. We're living the dream. That was talks like when New Day's contracts come up, they were like they might go to AEW, and I was like, they might. Like
I would sell organs for that to happen. I want the New Day and the Elite so bad, so bad.
Yeah, we've never gotten that crossover. Like, I personally like, Kofi and Big E to me are the New Day, and like that sucks for Xavier because I love consequences. But
I mean, let Xavier go to AEW, and then we can have Claudio and Adam Cole and Xavier all in a team together. And
what's
just bring
Chris
Tyler
Hero
Breeze
do?
over as well. Just have the party. It'll be great.
Let's bring over his entire podcasting network, and we can all be a faction. What's Chris Hero up to? Can him and Claudio get back together? Can we get
Oh,
the world's
please.
He's
I want
backstage.
that so bad.
He's backstage
Did you see
at
his
AEW.
match though that he had? Oh, I can't even remember who it was against. It was so good against Chris Hero's match. Oh, I'm going to find out what it was, and I'm going to send you it because it was phenomenal.
He's backstage in AEW now.
Yeah,
he's working backstage. So.
Yeah, you can tell Xavier Woods is heel now because he started wearing dark colors.
Of course, of course.
And
the moment
as opposed to rainbows and bright lights, he's like, no, I got to be serious now.
He's one lone rooftop stand away from becoming like an anime villain.
I
hope he wins King of the Ring again because King Xavier
evil King
would be great.
Well, TNA turned AJ heel and they gave him that emo haircut and he came out wearing all black and you're like,
I hated that.
I was so bad. I'm like, I felt bad for AJ at the time. I'm like, I feel bad for this dude because this is not working. Like everyone
I try so hard not to think about TNA on a daily basis.
Man. Like the time that he chased Disco Inferno with a chainsaw, that sums up most of TNA.
I mean, if you haven't listened to our podcast, we have a segment where they like to tell me about TNA because I haven't watched hardly any of it. And we call it TN Faye. And it's let's tell Faye about the worst TNA segments. And then you get to just watch me have like emotional damage in real time.
You guys hit me up. I want to do the worst.
Oh no!
segment with you.
I will definitely tell Jay. We're always happy because people have started doing that now. Like we've got wrestlers at shows who are like, "I've got one for you," and I'm like, "No, you haven't. Be quiet." Stop.
I mean, like, is any of the moments like they bought Bobby the Brain Heenan out to be a guest announcer, even though he couldn't talk?
So we've done like the main event Mafia, and we did Abyss with the Hulkamania ring and stuff like that. It was horrific.
His entire daughter's run also.
Oh God. Oh. Marrying Bully Brother Ray, whatever he's calling himself.
Bully.
Yeah.
Bully.
And
hey, Bully was actually a bright spot. That's how bad.
That's
how bad
it was.
And we did the Young Bucks AJ Styles thing. Like I try not to think about any of this, but it haunts me.
So it's really bad with like the Young Bucks. They kind of got a bad gig there because it was just them and Motor City Machine Guns. They had like 8 pay-per-view matches. So watch any of those because their styles are so similar and they work so good in the ring. I was so disappointed when Motor City signed with WWE and not AEW. I talked to Tom about this for months.
So mad.
The deal's almost there. Like I'd heard rumors like the deal's almost done. They're going to go. And then they show up in WWE and I'm like, that's fine. Like, that's okay. I love some Motor City Machine Guns. But like, if you go watch those Bucks MCMG matches, they're bangers. Like, absolute bangers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Fernando asked if we think Big E is due for return. I've heard nothing about Big E's status, but it looked like he had not slimmed, but it didn't look like he was as thick as he usually is. Maybe the suit was hiding it.
Are you kidding me? I thought he looked thicker, bro.
Seriously, I did not get that at all.
I thought he was about to go Super Saiyan with his chest.
I was looking more at his neck muscles and his shoulders than anything else. I didn't get that at all. I mean,
I think he's big.
Yes, he's absolutely stayed in shape, but I don't know if I don't know. I don't have a good answer for you.
It's his neck, right? So, I mean, obviously, if they're putting him on TV and they're having conversations, he's clear. So
maybe. I think it would have been overkill to lay him out, but I don't, because I think once you lay him out, you may be turning the corner, because right now all you did was hurt his feelings. But if you lay him out, not impossible to come back from, because nothing's impossible in pro wrestling.
So with Xavier Woods being the heel, they don't have to lay him out, because he's going to be, your chicken heel, right? Like, he just needs to roll up win, pull the singlet, roll up win, run out of the ring, be gone. It's kind of it's different. Like, he just needs to get those embarrassing wins over Big E until Big absolutely demolishes him.
Yeah,
and it's great that he's working with like people that he's been with for that long, coming back if he is coming back.
Yeah,
like him working with Kofi.
He's in the safest hands.
Yeah, with like Kofi or Xavier, like they're just gonna have him do big guy spots, be fine.
Ray's got his question here, and if I put it up, Faye will never see you again. So let's go around the horn. Faye, Biz Marquee or Heavy D?
I don't know who either of those are.
Oh man, you're gonna get off my show right now. I'm just kidding.
Oh baby, you Faye,
you got what I need. See, yeah, it's okay for now. It's okay. Part 2, Lost Boys or Gangstar. We won't even go there. It's
Lost
fine.
Boys.
Whoa, you know that one. Excellent.
Lost Boys is one of my favorite movies of all time.
Well, he's talking about the rap act, is what he's talking about. But that's fine too.
I'll just go with Lost Boys anyway. There we go.
But you're right. Kiefer Sutherland's mullet like transcends any kind of music or genre or film. The thing is so great.
And if Adam Cole Chris, we didn't throw it to you.
It's Biz. It's Biz and man, Lost Boys, and yes, Adam Cole. He can come to my house for Christmas.
Awesome.
I heard he needs a place to stay after he needs a place to stay after the divorce. So come on.
Yeah. By the way, here's my Christmas wish. My Christmas wish this year for 2024 is please let go of this Adam Cole MJF storyline. It is not working. I'm sorry. No one cares. No one wants to see it. We've seen it. It's over.
It's done.
It's cooked. It's well done. Dude,
you know what my Adam Cole related Christmas wish is?
Hold on, let me finish ranting. They are trying their best to convince you that of why they don't like it. I don't want to hear it anymore. It's not working. Well, you turned on me because you thought I was good. Oh my God. You're retrofitting it and no one cares. Stop. Yeah. Faye, go ahead.
Oh, someone just needs to learn them how to use tan.
Oh, well, there you go.
Yeah. But
spray can, man.
Oh, his tan was only good when it was with the Bucks, and I'm convinced that's because Cutler does everybody's tan. But but I completely agree with that. Like, Adam Cole is, they can both be awful. Yes, it is.
Yes, absolutely.
Adam Cole is a horrible man. He's a horrible, weaselly little man. MJF is awful, but Adam Cole is not good. Like,
the whole
story and be genuine in his evilness.
The whole storyline was Adam Cole pretended that he was MJF's friend, then screwed him over, and then left the company basically for 6 months. They're like, "We're supposed to cheer the guy now?" Like, what? Okay.
The thing is
makes sense.
Fine, cheer a heel, but Adam Cole is still a horrible man, and I'm so tired of these people not having consequences for their actions. Because are the Bucks just going to come back and we're just going to cheer them? No, they've been awful and they abandoned AEW. They bring them back as faces as well. I'm going to be pissed, and I love the Bucks.
They will.
I mean, what was the point of like MJF should have came back as the biggest babyface ever? Like he lost his relationship, got injured, came back, and they were like, "No, he's healed now."
I don't like MJF as a face, but that's true.
I mean, I don't
really
like
either.
MJF. like the way that they were booking that storyline, he should have came back as a huge baby face.
Like the Chris Statlander thing. Why?
Yeah,
Why all of
yeah.
a sudden is she face? Makes no sense.
I mean, she popped out of the claw machine one time, so there's that.
But she broke up the best friends, and it's like you facilitated that, and Trent isn't there right now. We should direct our anger at you.
You've got nice pink hair. There is no sense in you pulling it out of your head.
Yeah.
Stop trying to make sense of this company when they do these weird turns, because I'm telling you, if without my distinct formula of what I believe has happened here, I wouldn't be able to sleep at night. Because like you, I was like, I don't understand why you're doing this.
Yeah.
There is a balance to this though, because AEW or WWE is the opposite, where like the storylines are this.
Yes.
They are hard set in stone right now.
Dude,
I think I'd rather be with the crazy murder board behind me, like all the strings connecting everything. Like in There's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, like Charlie's in the post office. That's me with like every AEW storyline.
Dude.
WWE's like, we got Paul Heyman, we got the Bloodline, we're good.
That's good. That's all we need. We're done. They got one legal pad and it's one page written down by Paul Heyman Bloodline. Good.
We're good.
Good. I mean, they it's absolutely you see these angles with Bloodline and Roman especially, and he's got to do this, and right? And it takes a minute, and then he's got to do this, and it takes another minute. And I'm like, oh my God, my life's taken away. How long is this spot? But it's what they love. The fans eat it up in that company. They can't get enough of it. But that thing to do with him and Punk at the table, I'm like, the next person.
Seth.
Well, here's what I'll tell you. The next person that tells me that stuff that happens in AEW rings don't look real, that wasn't one camera. That was multiple cameras that did cuts and shots and said, okay, now you talk. And now you talk. That wasn't a kid. Don't tell me any more about what doesn't look real and what looks real. That was a completely produced segment. All right, man. You know what I mean? Like
you can be a completely produced segment as long as it looks good.
But that's my point. Like when people they hate AEW and say blah blah blah, I'm like, you're upset because a guy did a flip, but you're going to say that's more realistic?
Oh,
are you kidding?
So you're talking about like a very small percentage of the online community that's like, whoa, that's fake.
But they're like the loudest though.
Not fake.
They are.
No, not. Yeah, not fake, but the idea of there's too many moves, not enough storytelling. I'm like, okay, but
Tom, there is too many moves and not enough storytelling.
I don't entirely agree, but see there again, who does that fall on? One guy,
the booker.
That's it. Doesn't fall on anybody else.
I'll call him out, Tony Khan, though. Like if you want to hire me.
Sal Greco says, "What did you think of what Eric Bischoff said about it?" I could care less what Bischoff says about AEW. Yeah. I don't care a thing about what he says.
NXT hired him, so he's doing a WWE thing right now. So he's going to say a lot of negative things about AEW.
Well, he's been saying negative things about for years.
Yeah, my thing about Eric Bischoff is Eric Bischoff, and he killed WCW. It started with him.
Yep.
Once again, go back to the Sting thing we were talking about. That was Bischoff and Hogan. So that's the death of WCW starts there. So I'm just going to stop talking because I was about to use a lot of curse words.
Look, just like Cornette, he's making his living off of bashing other people, and they've got followers that believe everything they say. Cornette's got a cult at this point. He talks about the other guy. He's got a cult following him around, and they believe everything he says. And I'm like, all right, I just don't. It doesn't mean no good to listen to a form of entertainment where all they do is hate everything. I don't care about that.
At least Cornette's entertaining though. Like listening to an Eric Bischoff podcast, you might as well just like look at a koi pond for.
Well, if you could hear paint dry, I'm sure it's probably way more entertaining to listen to Eric Bischoff talk about anything.
Yeah, anything. I mean, he's just gonna say 83 weeks, bro. You know the kind of people that say things like that are the people that lost.
Yeah.
Like, well, we went undefeated until we lost in the Super Bowl. Looking at you, New England.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah. What have you done since then? Stop. Jeez. Well, kids,
what he tried to do is buy WCW back with a bunch of backers, and that failed. And then he got hired by TNA for $2 million a year and ran that company in the ground. The LOL TNA moments mostly come from him and Russo during that time period. So yeah, he's just living the banner life out there in Montana. It's so hard not to cuss when I talk about Eric Bischoff. He killed WCW. You guys, he did. All those contracts, the creative control contracts that he signed that made them get there for 83 weeks is the reason WCW is dead. It's not Vince Russo. Vince Russo tried his best, and that would not have been great either. But Eric Bischoff killed WCW. Hot take.
No, it's not a hot take.
Correct
I don't know why it's
take.
a hot take. I think he had his hand in a lot of what was wrong with that company.
Yeah,
but also I'll say this: a lot of it was also allowing the talent to call their own shots, and that cannot ever happen. But it did, and look what happened. I'm not saying the same fate awaits AEW. I'm not one of those guys. But ask me 12 months from now. Let's look back on this show and everything we've been talking about. In 12 months, if their ratings have slid to the point of no return, I think you can blame one guy. You can't blame the wrestlers. You can blame one dude, and that's the guy at the top. I'm sorry. And I like Khan a lot. I don't dislike the man at all. I don't know the man. But it begins and ends with him. So if the focus isn't there, if he doesn't know what he's doing or doesn't have enough people advising him, that's on him.
Prediction for the new year, Tom, and this will make you happy. Kenny Omega's going to come back. And then next year, this time, they'll be bumping against 1 million. 1 million.
That's fine. I would love that. I'd love that. I'd love for them to hit 2 or 3 million.
That would be wonderful.
That'd be great. I don't wish them to fail.
They really need Kenny.
Yes, they do.
They need him back.
Yeah, they do. Totally.
There's a reason why WWE offered him the money they offered him before he started.
Yeah.
Because there was a contract out there for him to show up at that Royal Rumble. So yeah, Kenny's still a big deal. Like, hopefully they set that up right with him and Okada. That's kind of been the thing about bringing in Okada so early and having him do these nothing matches. And I know you're a fan of the Elite, Faye, but like being a part of this goof troop.
I enjoy Goofy Okada.
It takes away from how special that match would be. Like between Okada and Omega.
I don't think it will. I think when it's time, it'll be fine. I really
don't.
Heel
Okada though is a goofball. Like,
he is
historically. Like,
yeah, it's true.
Yeah, but Gato's not here. Like, also hire Gato.
It's fine. It's fine. We've got Tony Khan. We don't need Gato.
He's the same height, I think. All right, kids.
All your energy.
Kids, we're going on an hour and 40. We're going to let Faye get some rest because it's quite late where she is. Before we get out of here, Faye, remind the kids out there of where you are and how they can find you.
Yeah, so I'm on the Untitled Wrestling Podcast, Untitled Rest Pod on Twitter, Twitch, Discord, and Blue Sky, and Untitled Wrestling Podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. And check out Two Nations Under Ted.
Man, she done set the bar, Chris. Catch that? Thank you, Faye. Chris, where can everybody find you at? When's that website coming?
I told you in December. So
all right.
I'm expecting bells and whistles. So many bells and whistles.
Yeah. If you like Metal Gear Solid, you'll love episode 1. I've worked really hard on it.
I will be happy to tune in on that.
Okay. Yeah. So the Patton report is coming to a internet browser near you, and like former of Wrestling Geeks Alliance. Great interviews out there if you want to listen to some back content. 7 years of podcast out there for you guys. Also that at Chris R. Patton on Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter is Chris.R.Patton, I think. So
it is. Yeah. Well, guys, thanks much for joining me. Thanks for jumping on short notice, and we'll have you guys both back on real soon. Thanks to both of you very much.
Go Dogs.
Lovely to be here. Thank you.
All right, there you go, kids. That was Faye and that was Chris, and we very much appreciate them for hanging out with us here today. Thanks to everybody that tuned in today. I know we had a really small crowd, but it's all good. Again, we weren't here for 2 weeks in a row, and that happens. We will be back here next week, barring any unforeseen circumstances, and we should be all good. Do me a favor, folks, if you will, check us out on boinkstudios.com, BOINK, boinkstudios.com. And just for the sake of keeping everything the way we typically do it here, so we've got an ad in here for everyone to check out now and after the fact. Please take a look at this.
Boink Studios is the home of Tom Clark's Main Event, Tom Clark's 6M podcast, and Two Nations Under Ted, a Ted Lasso podcast. Visit the site today for links to every podcast platform, social media, special announcements, and a lot more. Check out the site and bookmark today, boinkstudios.com.
All right, kids, there you have it. Boinkstudios.com. Please go check it out and bookmark it. I would very much appreciate it. Check out Tom Clark's Main Event. Of course, you can find the audio version on all your favorite podcast platforms. Please go check out Tom Clark's 6M podcast. The show comes back this coming Tuesday with our review of Batman Returns. Please go check out Tom Clark's Substack podcast. Going to update that sucker very soon. Please stay tuned for that. And also, of course, Two Nations Under Ted Lasso podcast. And keep your eyes open. We've got a new pod coming. That's myself, Joe Higgins, and Jay Luft. We'll be talking to you very soon about what that show is going to be. And we're going to iron out some details and get cracking on that one. So please, boinkstudios.com, and we're on the YouTube at Boink Studios. If you will, go give us a follow, like, and subscribe, and all that good stuff. And thanks again, kids, for checking us out now and after the fact. Share the show wherever you can, and we appreciate you very much. And we'll see you later, kids. Everybody have a great weekend, and we'll see you next Friday.